Alright, hello everybody and welcome to another video and more importantly a unit review video. First unit review that we're going to be using this outline, or not outline, overlay for, and hopefully looks pretty nice with Eliza situated right down there, allowing you to know which character is being reviewed this time. And yeah, we're just going to be talking about this character while running some demonstrations. And here I built this really makeshift party because at this point Eliza's not quite finished being built. You can see that my Eliza, I put a lot of work into her in the last week, but she's not effectively completed at this point. Definitely could be a little better. If I could get her to 115, she'd get a pretty big increase in one of her abilities to give her a much higher range. But it is what it is. Resources are finite in this game, and definitely working hard to not spend on this game this year. So here is what we got. We essentially are throwing a bunch of ice characters together into a very basic book farming map and just going to run it a bunch of times. One of the reasons we're running it this way is just so we can get a really good idea of her at about level 107, see how her AI performs and everything while we talk about the character. Also, to show a much more completed build, if you just go here and pick a friend unit in a ice elemental party, you can see here's a better idea of what she's built. This entire ice party here, so level 107 versus level 120, as well as stats and resistances for her current build. Pretty nice overall. As a range character, I wouldn't expect her to be close to the front of battle, but you know, you want to protect these characters. High amount of dexterity, okay luck, high attack for an archer, as well as good amount of HP and speed as well. Makes this for a really nice character that I quite like. Let's jump back over to our review panel and talk about what I think of her. So yeah, for the last week I've been testing out Eliza, trying to figure out, ever since I realized the synergy with her and Rafale, I was pretty interested in getting her. Having lucked out relatively quickly, it did effectively allow me to essentially build this character quite fast as well by dumping some of my resources into her. Thankfully still have a fair bit, but overall my opinion hasn't changed. Her TMR that gives, restore AP on a critical hit is pretty nice. Given that she has pretty high range, she can potentially get pretty good use out of this thing. Also might be good on other units. Doesn't have a really high cost either, but it's still just a pretty good TMR. Amazing, just pretty good, because a critical hit gives her 20 AP. It's just, nothing is ever going to be as good as Belle's, right? As for stats and everything, generally no real complaints. I mean, she is weak against magic, and that is kind of a little bit concerning because there are some good fire mages out there. Especially if fire ever gets a really good vision card, might be kind of difficult for this character to sell. But her ability wise, I honestly say I just like her on her main job. Ranger gives her some status effects and 100% hit chance. Her spear job that she gets from Luartha's Winter Edition, that one, is also a really nice one. I believe it's Brick Lance or something. That's what it's called on the JP side. It has decreasing of AP, it has decreasing of critical evasion, and decreased agility and attack, has some nice status effects there. And into her main job, the big thing, just range, AoEs, Dispel, Protect and Shell, can decrease defense, can decrease AP, CT, buffs to herself and others of agility and attack, quite nice, and just increase in range and increase of defense and missile resistance penetration is pretty huge for this character. One ability that she has that I think the longer that I have used her at this point, the more and more I'm just convinced I would never want to separate this ability from her is her increased accuracy by 60 for 3 turns, as well as increased range by 1 for 3 turns. Once she gets into level 115, she essentially has a support skill that will give her range +2. Add that in with this ability, you essentially get a lot of accuracy and +3 range. She can hit almost anything on the map. Really, really nice. I don't even know if you necessarily really need to worry too much about her AP generation as well, because you can kind of just get some attacks in from so far that you can generate AP, and you can probably just throw an AP card on her, as well as, you know, maybe this is the character that I really finally buckle down and build a TMR bow for with AP generation. That way I just don't need to worry that much about her. Such high range, she can just generate AP from a distance and still get in some powerful attacks, softening up the enemies before my main characters get in. But just the increase of defense penetration and missile resistance penetration on her one attack can be such a major damage dealer, because it's essentially 50 defense penetration just from this one ability, as well as missile resistance penetration by 50. So even if the enemy has built a very resilient character against her, such as even like Joom, this character can get through a lot of defense and really, really deal some damage from range. The only thing is that the longer I've had this character, the more convinced that she just needs to be 115 or higher, because that range is so important to get off before the enemy gets close. Really nice counters too that decrease ice resistance. I think next one I'm just going to change over and move her position, so maybe we can get a little bit of a different outcome from her AI. Let me just go here and click that before I continue. And so yeah, she has that. She also just has the good old-fashioned reflex ability, which is always good, provided that the enemy doesn't have a huge amount of reflex block. But providing that they don't have the reflex blocks, open game. But I think just one of the things that has really made, you know, like we talk about performance all the time, and there's a lot of great performance in this character. I think one of the most important things to talk about this character, about how much I really like her, is the fact that she just is like so many characters in this game. People are always like, well, the element's wrong kind of thing. This doesn't match, she doesn't, maybe this character doesn't have synergy, you know, Agrius is in ice, Rams is in light. Oh, that's sad. The couple will never be together in a party of any decent composition. That sucks, right? Well, we want to see that kind of thing do even better. Well, I think that one of the things going just with this character is that, you know, her and Rafale are the same element. You can potentially get them, one of them from the gacha, one you just get from the selection quest. And selection quest is far from free, but I think, you know, in terms of like, when you have that, just these two characters that are in kind of share a story moment, and they're the same element. I really like that. It's just kind of fun to have them in the same party, and, you know, put Black Witch Helen in there too. Why not? She's good in any party, right? So yeah, really, really like this character for a lot of different reasons. And I'm getting kind of confused because of this new setup sort of thing. But yeah, taking a look at what I really like about this character, Ice Elemental, 90 cost, permanent. You can get her at any point in the future, don't have to worry too much. If you can just kind of sack her off of a really low amount of Lapis, that just feels really great. Or get her off of a ticket in the future. I do think she's very high powered with the vision cards that Ice has available, you know, between the Odin card as well as Chaos Odin and more Odin. No, but also the Laswell card and other damage dealing cards that Ice has available. There's a lot of stuff. She also has just a really high amount of defense penetration, either from Trick Lance, which gives her defense penetration and critical rate, or her own abilities, which can also get by a lot of defensive capabilities of the enemy. She can debuff the enemy, she can deal it from a great range with a lot of different debuffs from a lot of different jobs too. She is also just great for dealing with evasion characters. That's one of the things that everybody's always talking about. Light evasion, evasion characters. She has, 100% hit ability. She also, and you may need to tailor her AI to potentially work a little bit specifically better against, to make sure that she's using those 100% hit chances. But Ice has a lot of accuracy, and this is already a really accurate character with some nice accuracy buffs in her kit. Overall, just really like the synergy, likes the synergy with her and Rafale, because both of them have ranged abilities, and that's pretty cool. Both of them kind of, one's accuracy and one's evasion. There's a lot of fun flavor between these two characters, and that's something I like to see in the game more. As for cons, if we were looking at synergy of really building like a range unit comp, with Ice, it's just not quite there. You have Barrett, you have Rosa, both of those characters are limited, for example, and I'm not going to name every character, but just the two that are specifically in my mind. Those two are limited, so you can't always get them. Rafale is far from a free-to-play game or free-to-play character because you need to build a lot of lower-level Ice tier characters to use in conjunction with this character. Unfortunately, she doesn't have Frostbite, which would have been a really fun thing to really mess with enemies from such a long range. Fury has that, so would have liked to have seen it here. But overall, like this ice range party, this pure ice range party, I don't think quite works yet. Kind of need a elemental tank. You could throw her maybe behind. I don't know. Really kind of want maybe an ice. Maybe Agrius will eventually become a better tank if that ever happens at this point, or other things. But unfortunately, with her weakness to Mage too, she's going to be weak against a lot of big AoEs. But yeah, one of the things I'm going to be testing with her, not this video because the content isn't quite out yet, but Elena, I assume that the JP side, once Elena gets into the game, she will be built for evasion, and if she is built for evasion, then I'm going to be testing Rafale against her, either a CP unit or whatever, to see how her evasion stacks up against a character like this, as well as other accurate characters on the JP side. So that's still kind of a mystery, and that's one of the big things I want to test with evasion right now. Not necessarily a lot of the stuff that we have currently going, because it's not a huge problem. Really, Rafale is just leveraging a lot of power against wind elemental parties at this point. And so yeah, very, very happy with her thus far, and looking forward to just her becoming a staple unit for me for a lot of different reasons. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks for watching. See you next time.